Is this driver going to be the most underrated but best performing driver of 2023? What is it? It's the Mizuno ST230 Z. Now, I've never really been a big Mizuno driver fan. Irons, some of the best on the market, best feeling, best performing. But when it came to drivers, there was always that, I want some ball speed, please. And that's always lacked a little bit with Mizuno. Well, this time they have some new technology that promises they've got ball speed. So I'm going to test it. I'm going to hit some balls in the studio. I'm going to get some numbers. I'm going to see how it is for accuracy. I'm going to see how it is for ball speed and distance and spin. And I'm also going to head out to Whitsand Bay and put this in play on the golf course, because I've hit this previously on a showdown with Dan, and I was massively impressed with this driver. So now I'm going to go out there and put it in play. And is this potentially going to go in my bag? It's got the potential to do it. So let's put it to the test properly and see if it's something that will go in this year. So I've come out on course with the Mizuno ST230. Now, I don't think I've ever been more excited to hit a golf club on the course than I have with this, because every time I've tested it inside the studio, it's been accurate, it's been pretty decent distance as well. So I'm expecting good things from it. If the studio numbers are anything to go by, then out on the course, this should be pretty good. Now, 14th hole here at Whitsand Bay. As you can see, it's a blind tee shot. Now, the right is completely out of bounds, so you cannot go to the right. And if you do go to the left, it's not too bad now, but in the summer, there's a wild flower meadow, your ball's gone. So you have to be fairly accurate. So the line is that island in the distance. It's just right of that with a bit of a draw. But if you hit one straight, then you're okay. But if you've got any type of slice on this hole, your ball has gone. Right, how does this feel and sound actually out on the golf course? So not a bad start, a little bit high in the face, but what it did do is it went pretty straight. So a bit of a drop in distance, caught it a little bit heavy. Still has gone a pretty decent distance, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to hit one properly. So let's try and hit one properly. And that's gone a little bit to the right, unfortunately. Great ball flight, really penetrating ball flight, but it's a ball flight that I've not seen for a while with driver, is that left to right fade, and it's not something that I like seeing. I didn't see it in the studio, but out on the golf course, it's not something I like. So I'm going to aim a little bit further left to play for that and see if we can get one down the middle. That's much better. Great sound, great feel. Yeah, really, really impressive. Much better shot, that one. Nice high straight with a very slight draw. Much better connection. Definitely something I'd like. That second swing was probably me just not being able to rotate the body. Really nice tinny sound off the face. Not too noisy, not too in your face. A great sounding golf club. So distance wise, not too bad. Probably left me about 145 yards in. It wasn't the greatest strike, that's for sure, but it was definitely in play, definitely on the fairway. So out of those 3 shots, I found 2. I sadly lost 1 to the right. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to confidence with driver, especially off that tee shot. You've got to be able to stand over your driver and think, I'm going to be in play here. And at the moment, it's new to me, but I just didn't have that confidence off that tee box. But you know, you've got to grow into a driver. Technology wise, what you're getting with this, well, the big talking point with Mizuno is this Core-Tech chamber. This chamber on the back, and it's something that you would look at if you looked at other drivers as like a speed pocket or something. But what they've done is they've put a stainless steel rod into this area, and then they've sort of covered it so it's suspended within like a TPU polymer type material. And that's their key to ball speed with this driver. Now, previous Mizuno models have always lacked a little bit of ball speed for me, but on testing this previously, I've certainly had that ball speed up there with anything else I've tested, which is absolutely, like, kudos to Mizuno for that. It's what I want from a driver. So this Core-Tech chamber is It's purely there to give you extra ball speed. And I actually think this is a technology that has worked from everything I've done with this. I'm not seeing it yet out on course, but I've not given it a fair test yet. I'm going to go to another tee box and have another go with it. But from indoor testing, that Cortex chamber definitely is there and giving me more ball speed. Okay, 16th tee. Again, another drive that could really do with being accurate. Somewhere between those two trees. Left of those trees, you are sometimes get blocked out by the tree, and then if you go to the right, you're blocked out by the trees on the right hand side, and you always run the risk of it running down into the rubbish on the right hand side. So this is a tee shot that requires some form of pretty much of good accuracy. When you look down at it at the address, you're obviously seeing this black mark here at the top going into the carbon, so it has very much M2 vibes for me. Definitely like looking tailor-made-y. The pear shape of it looks superb. And at address, you know, it sits quite nicely. It doesn't sort of want to spray open, it's not too closed, it sits pretty neutral, which is always a plus side for me with drivers, because sometimes you can just get them sitting open. So at address, looks fantastic. The wind's just going to take that out to the right. Good for distance, it's just going to be on that 17th fairway. Now, there is the STX, which has got a bit more draw bias to it. This weight here at the back is pushed down a little bit lower, so someone like me, who seems to be just losing this slightly to the right hand side, maybe the X would be the potential driver in a fitting. You know, that's what I could possibly be looking at. But sound and feel, Mizuno have cracked it, and that is a really good distance considering it was a bit sprayy, a bit floaty, so to speak. Yeah, and that one's just gone in the same place, so it's just riding that left to right wind. So it's not too bad. I have got an approach from there, but I don't want a driver to be going right. For me, it's got to be straight into a draw. And the fact that this is going in the right, and I'm hitting it slightly higher in the face, but it is pretty central, so it is my face to path, and maybe having that weight there will just close that toe a little bit more in order to straighten that ball flight for me, which is exactly what it's there to do. So while I'm here, I just have to show you this absolutely spectacular view that you get here off our 7th tee here at Whitsand Bay. I'm going to take a tee shot off here in a minute, but just take a look at this. Before we hit this tee shot, let's head back to the studio. Let's look at the numbers and the data that we got using the Mizuno STZ and see if it's actually a viable option, looking at those data numbers, to go into my bag. So let's look at the numbers then of the Mizuno STZ. Now, these are gaming shots. What I'm trying to do is keep these in play. I'm not trying to bomb it and get as much distance as possible. I'm trying to keep them in play as much as I can. So ball speed, 151.4. Now, in today's test, I've tested other drivers, and this is up there with them. So that's really a positive sign that the ball speed is up with them. I'm not swinging my fastest today. So for it to be there or thereabouts with what I've been testing, it's absolutely superb. It's definitely a step up for Mizuno. Launch angle 13.9. Actually a really good launch angle. I started getting into it a little bit towards the end. First couple were a little bit high launching, but you know, they are what they are. Spin 2.5, a little bit too high, but there was one in the 3000, 2.7. This one here is probably where I'd want it to be, just maybe a couple of hundred revs above that, but you can see that that's gone 270, so it's definitely going to get out there with a decent strike, decent launch angle, and some decent ball speed. Like, that is pretty good distance for what is like not the greatest ball speed in the world. Peaking out at 37 yards, so it's not too high. That's a really good penetrating ball flight with a pretty decent descent angle. I'd probably want it just into the low 39s just to get a bit of run out of it. With an average carry of 259, but you can see a 265 and a 270, so it's definitely got the potential with the right characteristics and the right strike to get out there into the late 260s to 270s, which is where I'd want a gaming shot to be. But even the 251, you know, I'm not going to argue with that. It's 251 offline. I mean, this is accurate. There was one that went pushed out to right, so arguably going to be into the semi-rough on the right-hand side, but that's dead on line. That will be in the fairway, and these are all fairway balls. So it's got the accuracy, it's got the ball speed, it's got the distance that I would expect. it's a great driver. So we're back here on the 7th hole, and this is stroke index 1 actually. And I don't know, it's, you know, you'd think why, but it's because of the distance, and it's normally into the prevailing wind. So it's a 400-yard par 4. This one's into the wind off the left. So I'm going to try and draw it into the wind and see if I can do that. At the minute, so far, I've kind of been losing this driver a little bit to the right. And if I'm honest, I'm a little bit disappointed in that, because when I tested this in the studio, this was arguably a club that I could possibly look at playing, actually going into the bag. But at the minute, it's just not doing it for me. I've tested better clubs out here that are certainly like more likely to go into the bag than this one. Oh, it's a good strike, but again, it's just leaking to the right, and I do not want it doing that. I just can't seem to close that face quick enough with this driver, and it's really disappointing. But that's arguably what the X is there for. Distance wise, it's great. So let's play for that fade and aim up the left and see if we can fade it into the fairway, because it's not a bad shot to have. I just prefer the draw. Oh, that's much better. So that has faded back. It's coming into the middle of the fairway, smack bang in the middle. Distance wise, considering it's into wind and off the left hand side, it's not too bad. And the noise and sound you're getting off this SAT 2041 Beta titanium face is superb. And you can see here, I don't know how well you're seeing that, but I'm hitting it pretty central, maybe just a little bit high, but I'm hitting it pretty central. So I'm hitting the ball well, and it's going a decent distance. It's just, for me, a bit fadey, which, you know, it's not sometimes a bad thing. It can be more controllable. It's just, I just have to aim to the left and let it fade in, as opposed to what my normal shape would be aim to the right and draw it in. All in all, I'm actually pretty impressed with it out on the course. It would need some more testing to be able to be a contender to go into my bag, and it would have to go against something else and, you know, make those sort of assumptions at that point. But as a step up from Mizuno, I think this is a great driver. It sounds superb, it feels great, it does look good. You know, it's not really to my eye, like it's not something that I like quite loud, that's why I like the pings. But like on a prettiness scale, it is definitely up there as one of the prettiest drivers around. Let's head back into the studio and let's summarize what the Mizuno STZ is like. So what do I think then? All in all, the STZ is a superb driver, and the X, which I'll test as well, which has that bit of draw bias, is just going to be there to help people. Now, you're definitely getting an increase in ball speed over previous models. And that's kudos to Mizuno and the technology with that Core-Tech chamber that they put in here, designed to give you that ball speed. This is keeping up with the ping that I've tested already, and it will probably be there or thereabouts compared to others. Like I said, this wasn't an out-and-out ball speed test. This was a playability test, a gaming test, an accuracy test as well. The Mizuno stands up to everything I've tested. It's a great driver. It is an absolutely superb driver, and it's definitely going to be underrated this year. I don't think enough people are going to go out and test the Mizuno driver because they're just going to write it off. Well, you shouldn't, because this is an absolutely amazing driver that is going to be probably better priced than the rest of them, and it will perform just as good. But I'd like to know what you think about Mizuno drivers. I know there is a cult following for their irons and their hybrids potentially, but are you thinking of going into the driver this year? If you are, I'd love to hear down in the comments. As always, if you've liked these videos, do hit that thumbs up button down there and hit that subscribe button for me. It's completely free, and it really helps me grow this channel to be able to give you as best content as I can possibly give you.